Welcome back to A Slice of Britain, because for 80 points in the Horizon Cars and Coffee series, you can go ahead and grab the Aston-Martin Vanquish Zagato Coupe, which on the series screen said it's from 2018, and from the top it says 2017, so I don't think Forza know what they're doing. So this thing starts out with a whopping 595 brake horsepower, 464 foot-pounds of torque, and weighs a whopping 3,891 pounds with a 5.94 litre engine. And as far as I'm aware, it's also a V12. In the meantime, this car does look pretty cool from the front, pretty good from the side, and from the back it looks a little bit kind of like, I would say, maybe a fighter jet. Going to the inside, it does look pretty cool indeed. We also have, we've got a bunch of buttons, and as far as I can tell, when I accelerate, that little bar goes up, so I assume that's what it's there for. In the meantime, let's go ahead and take a listen to this thing. So going to the upgrade shop, we're going to jump straight to conversion first to see what we've got. For engine swaps, we have just one, which is a 7 litre V12 producing 820 brake horsepower, of which I don't know what car it's from, but I've got a feeling it could be very interesting indeed. If you want, we can also go ahead and make this thing all-wheel drive, which we'll be doing in just a little bit. And on top of that, we can also make this naturally aspirated engine either turbocharged or supercharged. I wish I could do both at once, but sadly that's not possible. So going over to aero and appearance, going to the front, we've got just Forza Aero for the front, which is, well, disappointing to say the least. And also Forza Aero for the back, with the traditional built from the ground up in Forza Motorsport 8. Well, we've just got the normal Forza Aero, but yeah, I was hoping for something a little better. I was going to put a funny comment here, but I genuinely can't think of anything. However, in the meantime, Mac is back with us once again for a brand new tune. We'll go ahead and pull up the share code. There it is. A lot of numbers this time around, but let's go ahead and give that a download and see what we've got. So with these upgrades applied, we are now at 3,204 pounds with a whopping 828 brake horsepower at the top of S1. So let's install some parts. So now we go over to the paint shop. Going to advanced, we've got nothing like normal. We're going to manufacturer paints. We've got a few. We've got ourselves a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different colours for this thing. That blue does look pretty good. Also, it does the kind of green as well. And honestly, the orange kind of stands out a bit too. It reminds me a bit of the GTR from 2017 that's in this game. So now we're going to go ahead and go to the race. I've kept this thing in the red that it came in because honestly, it doesn't look half bad in it. I'm not going to lie. Now, as far as I'm aware, this car was also back in Forza Horizon 4. Though I believe there's also a version of this that was also green as well. I'm not quite too sure on that. Might have to jump back to that and check in a bit. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and make our way on to the racetrack and go and see what this thing can do. And away we go. We're now up against 11 other various assorted vehicles. And this thing, I'm told, is either understeery or oversteery. It can't tell what it wants to be. So let's go ahead and see what we get out of this thing. Going into the first turn, let's try and see if we can get a few positions. And we went from 8th up to, well, 6th, which isn't too bad. This Mercedes is not happy with me trying to pass them, clearly, but let's go ahead and see if we can do that, hopefully up here, maybe? Yeah, there we go. Now we're up into 5th. All right, on the brakes. Let's see how good this thing... This is actually pretty decent, I'm not going to lie. That's... All right, I'll take that. Now, a fun thing about this is there really weren't many of these cars built. There are a whopping 99. That's it. And they, I believe, retailed at $573,000 US, which is absolutely insane. Hopefully the conversion for British pounds should be on the screen about now. Oh, and during all that, by the way, we somehow made it up into first. We're just going to try and see if we can actually keep this to the line now. I've got to say, for something, you know, this heavy, around 3,200 pounds, this thing actually handles really, really nicely. I'm genuinely surprised. Like, that's not making out for the video. I am genuinely actually kind of surprised. That is insane. Anyway, 95%, 96, 97. This game's trying to beat me to my commentary, and across the line we go with a very, very well-deserved first place and a time of 1 minute 55, which really is actually quite quick. So after quite an interesting race indeed, we are now back over at the upgrade shop. And I believe we would usually go through all this conversion, all the usual, but you know exactly where this is going, because if we back out to the main menu once again and go over to find tuning setups, there is hopefully going to be one waiting for us. And in fact, there it is. So let's go ahead and haul up the share code. There it is. Feel free to go ahead and give that one a good old little download. And that's what we're going to do about now. Oh, And this is our drag tune, by the way. So now this thing weighs a whopping 2,722 pounds, significantly lighter than what it was before, over 1,000 pounds of weight being chucked out of this thing, and it's got ourselves a whopping 991 brake horsepower. So let's go ahead, install this stuff, and give it a go. Now, one thing that's pretty cool is I got to see this thing while it was being tested, and the launch looked a bit like this. Okay, and now we go out to the... Wait a minute, wrong festival. Ah, there we go, that's better. Right, let's go ahead and perform a little bit of a wheelie check on this thing. What do we get? Oh, okay, I get it, this thing's good. Right, here we are now over at the edge of the drag strip. Something has gone absolutely flying past, I don't know what it is. But we're going to go ahead and go on, well, the old-fashioned version of launch control, even though I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to. And let's go ahead and floor it in this thing and see what we get through the camera. There is a Horizon Arcade here, which I didn't ask to be here, but hopefully we shouldn't have any problems with that. It's still got around another 6 minutes something to go. So let's go ahead and make our way through the camera at 185 and off the end of the motorway, or the runway rather, at just around 200. But, okay. I was kind of expecting this thing to do a little better, given, 900 brake horsepower and the fact that it can do this. But I mean, hey, at least this one had brakes this time. Okay, so after that rather interesting little drag run, we now go ahead and get this car all to ourselves. So we're going to jump straight to conversion, and I'm actually going to go ahead and throw in the engine swap in the vague hopes that it might just be pretty speedy indeed. We are going to also go ahead and keep this thing all-wheel drive, just because we're going to need it a bit later on. But let's go ahead and upgrade this thing and see where we end up. Also, is it me or does that Z on the side? I know it's meant to be Zagato, but doesn't it kind of remind you a bit of the 350 and 370Z logo? Or maybe that's just me. Okay, so I've installed some parts, ended up with the same amount of horsepower, and somehow I've made this thing heavier. Oops. I mean, nope, that was completely planned. Yep, totally. And now I've got to go ahead and deal with all the gearing. This might take a while. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and play the usual game of can I park on the edge of the, the grate over at the edge of the motorways. Let's go ahead and see. Hopefully where I've placed the marker should be good enough. Let's go ahead and see how close we get. Are we there? Are we not? I've got a feeling this time we are parked ahead of it. Oh dear. Okay, after a little bit of slight manoeuvring, we are now at the edge of the motorway, so onto launch control, and away we go. We've got 7 gears and nearly 1,000 brake horsepower. Hopefully this thing can do something pretty good indeed, because if not, then I'm going to be moderately disappointed. But let's go ahead and see what top speed we get out of this thing. I'm hoping maybe for around 230, but I think that might be pushing it, considering this thing's close to 3,000 pounds in weight. And out of the speed zone, 228.45 miles an hour. We've still got the downhill and the speed camera to go, so hopefully we might be getting something decent down there. But I'm hoping for a little more than 228. Well, I've got to say, the colour suits this car well. And any second, they should see, hopefully, through the camera, 236.96. Going downhill, 239, 242, 41, 242, 243. This thing just keeps on giving out surprises. And honestly, I didn't even think it would get this far. But, well, 243 is this thing's top speed. And we've still got to go ahead and do one more thing. Yeah, I think we all know where this is going. Yeah, you guessed it, we're going sideways, so let's go ahead and throw this thing into our favourite drift zone, and hopefully we'll get a decent amount of points. Now, Mac took us around here earlier and ended up getting it roughly around 37,000, and we've got to match that with 37,343. The question is, can we match that going back the other way? Well, I guess it's time to find out. In we go with the Aston Martin. Hopefully we'll try and keep this thing very, very sideways indeed. Come on, let's keep it going, 35,963 points. So not as much as the first run, but still relatively okay. I think the best bit of all that is that Horizon Arcade has mysteriously vanished. I promise I had nothing to do with it. Anyway, that is the video on the Aston Martin Zagato Coupe. It is, like I say, the series award instead of the season award. But is it worth it? Well, if you're an Aston Martin fan, a bit like I kind of am, because they've got some beautiful cars, then this is definitely one to add to the collection. I wouldn't say it's, notoriously fantastic. I wouldn't say it's absolutely horrendous. It's sort of somewhere in the middle. It's a pretty decent car and would definitely do good as a show car. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Feel free to go ahead, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that cool stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, tech out. See ya! A beautiful car and a nice view. What more could you want?